Welcome to BDO's Legal Tech Talk podcast. We're joined by judges and legal professionals to discuss emerging trends, regulatory updates, and the latest headlines. We'll provide tips to help your law firms and legal departments make the most out of legal technology. I'm Daniel Gold, BDO Principal and eDiscovery Managed Services Leader.
And I'm Eric Dirk, BDO's Managing Director of Legal Operations. Let's get started with this episode's exciting discussion.
And welcome back to another episode of BDO Legal Tech Talk. We are again here live at Running Legal Like a Business conference in Las Vegas. And I have to say, Eric, of everyone that we've spoken to so far, this is going to be a very interesting conversation and almost wish we had more than just 15, 20 minutes.
We might need more.
We might need more because we are joined by Christina Wojcik, who is the Chief Innovation Officer as well as a partner at the law firm Pearson Ferdinand. Christina, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. And listen, just like TikTok, we can have a part 2 and leave a cliffhanger so people join.
Well, I think that's such a phenomenal idea here. Let me set the stage for all of our listeners. You are at a law firm that has 250 partners.
That's right.
And there is no physical real estate whatsoever.
That's right.
You have no offices. There are no associates at your law firm.
That's right.
When I said 250 partners, I meant it. There's just 250 partners.
That's right.
And You all have paralegals if the partner wants to bring them on and if they can afford to bring them on. Is that correct? That's
right. So we are a very much partner-focused firm, of course, but also we want the partners to have the ability to bring on the resources that they need to make their practice successful. So we don't want to have a defined pool. We don't want to have to create additional overhead and have additional headcount that isn't being fully utilized. So to the extent that partners can maintain additional support staff for their teams to deliver for their clients, then that's something that's welcome.
This is an unbelievable idea and probably is so different from what everyone else thinks about when they think about a law firm. So I'm a big culture person, as Eric knows well. I bleed culture, mission, values, etc. For your law firm, you guys have to be so very like a tight-knit family. And we said right before the recording, you hire for culture. So talk to us a little bit about what is the driver? What is the mission? What is the focus at your law firm?
Yeah, and if I just take a quick step back, so Joel Ferdinand and Michael Pearson had an opportunity to basically say, if we started a law firm from the ground up, how would we want to build our firm? How would we want to build the firm that we want to work at? And so they really started diving into all of those things that make an organization, a firm successful, and that starts with people. Right? So how do you make sure that you bring the people in that you want to go to work with every day, that you don't mind jumping on the phone with every day? And so when they were thinking about the partners that they were going to bring over with them, they spent a lot of time thinking about who are those people that we like and that our clients like. And then as we've continued to grow over the past 18, 19 months, the interview process is the same. Even if they have a big book of business, even if that book of business is portable and it'd be really fun to have, if that's not someone that they would want to work with every day, then they don't have a seat at the table at Pearson Ferdinand. So really starts there. And then they just foster that culture. So we have a firm retreat coming up in 2 weeks where there's about over 200, I think 90% of the firm is showing up to this retreat in Stowe, Vermont. Can't wait for that. And Joel and Michael know people's birthdays. They know spouses' birthdays. They know anniversaries. They send out cards. They really talk to people. If people are having personal issues in their life, they do everything they can to support that person through those issues. It really is, and I've never experienced this in my 20 plus years of being in the industry, something as special as what they've built.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I am the Chief Innovation Officer, and because we run a pretty lean shop, that means a number of different things on any given day. But I spend most of my time understanding where technology, where process improvement can add value in 2 different fronts. One, from the back office perspective. what can we do to create a better frictionless kind of atmosphere for our partners in the administrative tasks, so those tasks that no one wants to do but has to be done because that's just what you need to do. So what are those things that we can automate, and what are those things that we can put against workflow so that way our partners can really focus on practicing law? And then the second part of that is, what are those different things that we can do to continue to drive value to our clients? That might be through technology, that might be through rethinking billing practices, that might be through, working together to build software. I have a number of different clients that are interested in collaborating with us on building things together that don't exist in the marketplace. But what are those drivers that can allow the partners to bring value to their clients? So I spend most of my time doing that, and I adore it. But the other part of my time is thinking about, how do we buy differently, right? So a lot of the technology companies are set up to think about, oh, Pearson Ferdinand has 250 partners, therefore I'm going to get an enterprise license for 250 partners. And I have to say, okay, let's back up a little bit here. Of the 250 partners, 25% might find value from your product because of the different practice areas that we have. Of that 25%, I think we'll probably have 2 or 3 people who are willing to use that product for their practice, because the others might, if we think about, again, I'm focused on IP, and that's the area that I actually know the least amount. But if you do trademarks, right, that's very different than if you do patents. So if you're a patent product, my trademark partners are never going to use you, so I'm not going to buy based on their headcount. So really working with outside providers on how to rethink their billing model to align to what I consider the law firm of today and the law firm of the future. We're not going to buy for shelfware. We're not going to buy because of how many people we have. We're going to buy on what we can use and how that's going to bring value to our clients or to our internal business.
Yeah, you're breaking the mold in so many different ways. At this conference, there's a lot of different vendors, technology providers that are really about selling SKUs, right? They're about selling into a number of seats. How are you changing the way in which they sell to you? Because like you just kind of mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to buy for 250. We're going to buy for 5.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about how you get people over that line when they're trying to sell you 250 SKUs.
Well, they have the potential misfortune of my career background. And so my career background has been mostly in sales, and it's been in startup world, and it's been through high growth kind of organizations through exit. I kind of have the insider scoop on what they can and cannot do, especially based on potentially their investment cycle, right? Do they need to close another round, and do they need a new logo? That's interesting for me to know. Are we coming up to an end of quarter? That's interesting for me to know. Do we have go-to-market opportunities together where we might be able to do some co-marketing together? I know that brings value. They know that brings value. So if we can put a whole bunch of different kind of value drivers that bring value to them, aside from just the dollars, because that's obviously what we need at the end of the day. And if they can bring value to me, what I found is that most of them are very, very willing to work on new ways of engagement and new models. There's a couple of very mature players out there, and unfortunately they have a lot of power to do what they want. But I think for the most part, the really agile emerging tech companies are very willing to align to what we need to do, because I can buy quickly, right? And that's a driver as well. And there are other things that I'll do. So I'll try to have a minimum commitment, right? So if I say, hey, if we can get at least 5 partners to sign up for that, would that be enough to make this of value to you? Sometimes that's a yes, sometimes it's a little bit higher. But yeah, there's a number of different levers that I'll pull to assure that they're getting the value from us and we're getting value from them. Because again, being in sales at the end of the day, you want to help them out too, right?
Yeah,
you don't want to beat them up too much.
But you're in an evaluation and sales role, because you're going to your partners and saying, hey, I found this new IP tool that might be beneficial to you. Would you like to take a look at it? So you have to sell.
I have to do a lot of selling. I hate the words change management. I want to meet the people where they are, and I want to provide them with as many opportunities for success. And so when I bring in a new product, if they will align to what we can do from a buying perspective, then I am a hardcore internal salesperson. I provide, multiple trainings, maybe even a month on a particular product. I reach out beyond that product's demographic. So let's say it's a transactional tool. I'll open it up to the litigation team, because the litigation team might say, hey, I have a client that has a lot of transactions coming up. I'm going to refer them to my partner in the transaction team, knowing that they're using this transactional tool, which is a value driver, because we can create efficiencies, or we can potentially have better outcomes based on the amount of data we can review. So it's a full kind of circular way of trying to promote what I think are kind of best-in-class products that will bring, again, it's all about driving value at the end of the day. But yeah, I do a lot of internal sales.
Legal teams are struggling to manage resources, maintain compliance, and adopt new technologies. BDO's legal operations team can help. We enhance efficiency, reduce costs, and support compliance so you can run your legal department like a business. Schedule a meeting with us today at BDO.com.
I'd want you on my team.
You'll have to talk to Joel and Michael.
Yeah. Speaking of Joel and Michael, when they decided to come up with this concept for this firm, you could write a book about this idea of what Joel and Michael have done with your law firm. And this in and of itself is very innovative. It goes right back to your role as the Chief Innovation Officer. What was the driver behind creating an office without walls? All the law firms that I've ever talked to talk about sales, I used to carry a sales bag.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, it was, you actually can do things remotely, and nobody ever believed me. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's a cat and they could figure out how to be remote. But to have an entire highly, highly successful law firm
Right.
that is completely virtual breaks every rule I know, right? And you really could write a book about this. So what was the driver?
I think what they were able to identify is that we are all adults, we are all professionals, and we are going to work to ensure that we are representing our clients to the best of our ability. And you don't need an office to do that. And because we don't have an office, and based on my experience in offices, not necessarily at law firms, we're constant communication, right? You're not sitting behind closed walls within your office and not talking to anyone that's in the office next to you. Because out of necessity, we don't have this bench of associates or paralegal professionals who are going to do things. You're on the phone with your other partners. You're strategizing with your other partners. The competition amongst other partners isn't what you would see at other law firms, I suspect. And so there is just this constant engagement amongst the firm. And then we have firm retreats. We have networking events for the firm. We have, social hours that we'll go to different cities and get everyone together. So we're not disconnected at all. But I think we're also shockingly not siloed in many ways, especially when you're bringing over your book and you're just part of a small representation of what could be a much bigger portfolio for a particular customer or category. You want to share ideas, right? So our insurance team united, and we have, I think, 60 or so of our partners who have raised their hand to say, for insurance industries, I can offer this value. So if we have new insurance companies that come up, we have a group of, again, I think it's around 60, I don't know the exact number, but that's close to it, who will say, okay, what does that insurance company need? Here's my experience. What can I do to help? Yeah. It's all hands on deck. It's incredible. It makes all the sense in the world. And why has it taken us so long to get there, right?
Well, right on. And so here's the $1 million question. How did you guys break the tribes? Because it sounds like you don't have tribal warfare. It sounds like you basically share, act like human beings, and don't have this tribal boundary that really prohibits you from actually building more revenue.
Yeah, and anytime there's some type of, disagreement, and of course, there's always going to be some type of disagreement. We're not that unique. Joel and Michael are incredible moderators, right? They'll understand the situation. They'll kind of arbitrate between whatever is going on, and then they just make a decision. And that's the decision, and we move on from it. Wow. And that's it. And I'm not one of the producing partners, right? So I'm not really in there like fighting for anything, and nor do I see people fighting for anything. So maybe there's some of that going on, but being in the C-suite, it usually would bubble up to what I would see, and I just haven't really seen a lot or any of it to really like say, well, actually, there are these signs, right? But I have seen Joel and Michael say, there are these concerns, and this is the decision we came to, and then people just move on and continue to focus on the clients.
When the competition takes a look at you and marvels or scratches their head, I suppose, and they see what you've done, they probably think to themselves, well, gosh, if there's no offices and there's no paralegals and it's just partners billing, gosh, they must be so much more expensive than us. But you've broken that as well.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Can you talk about how you have broken that? Because that to me made me scratch my head a little bit. And right before the recording, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you think about those different things that go into what the charges are, right? So what the rates are going to be. You think about you have to pay for office space. You have to pay for guaranteed salaries. You have to pay for technologies that you might be experimenting with because you bought an enterprise license and you're not doing a chargeback model to your partners. And so the way we're able to reduce all those costs and pass those savings on to our clients is just by that, right? So We make very smart purchasing decisions. We're very good at ensuring that the decisions that we make, the partners are contributing to that. So if you want to license with an AI tool, then you're paying for that. Our rack rates are typically somewhere between 30 to 50% of the AmLaw 10, the AmLaw 200, because again, we don't have the overhead that those firms have.
So you've got 250 partners, and you are 30 to 50% below the rack rates of the AmLaw law firms.
That's right.
Yeah, profound. I mean, why wouldn't more people think about modeling things this way? And I wonder if there's this inability to innovate. A lot of people have this struggle with innovation because it almost fosters accountability. Like some people would want to come to a job or an office and say, I'm cool with the constructs in which I'm operating a business, but you guys have broken free of that. So I don't have a question. I'm just marveling at this idea that you've been able to build something that very few, maybe if any, have tried. But then you think about the other business models besides law firms that should be thinking about doing stuff like this. It's like, wow.
And I think a lot of it, and moving it back to the tech side a little bit, so there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around just technology in general, especially within the legal community, right? Like our careers are based on precedent. So what did our forefathers do? Then that's what I need to do. So when you come in and say, okay, well, we're going to change the way your forefathers had worked, and we're going to do something that's more modern that our clients are demanding, right? So being in-house at Citi, I would see our law firms demanding just, we were their clients. Like, no. Like, we're like breaking that mold a little bit. But I had a demonstration of a litigation tool, and I was showing a couple of my litigation partners, and this tool is amazing. And the partner basically said, well, Christina, that work typically would take me 5 days to do. And I give this example a lot when I'm speaking. And I said, listen, that work is dead. You just don't know it yet. Right? So let's get ahead of it. Let's recognize, but let's be the first to the table. Let's adopt that, because what we're then showing to our clients is that we are willing to do what it takes to create efficiency, to drive the value. In the short term, it might look like we're reducing our revenue, they're reducing their spend, but in the long term, let's play the long game and let's go after volume. Let's get the client trust that we really are trying to work in their favor, and then build up that relationship so that way we have a deeper, more meaningful relationship with that client. So if we have to lose 5 days on the front end to get a more penetrating relationship with that potentially very large client, then that's a short-term sacrifice to make. And by the way, that 5 days of work, you don't want to be doing it anyway. Right. That's not fun.
I can probably guess it might have something to do with document review. But, but here's the other question. So there's this progressive evolution of adoption of tools, right? We know that kind of lawyers and legal teams are somewhat apprehensive and maybe suspect of adopting tools to just use tools. You guys have figured out a way to jump that significantly. You guys are into that. You're not adopting. You're rolling with it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so how did you, was that just because, hey, we're going to use these tools and we trust them, or did you just say, we think that this stuff is hardened enough that we can use it in practice?
So there's a number of different layers to that. So the first layer when I'm evaluating technology, before I even introduce it into a law firm, is just security. Before I even know if the technology works or not, I want to know about the organization. I want to know what type of security it has, because if it doesn't meet my minimum kind of threshold requirements, then there's no point in even seeing if it's a cool and shiny product. And the second part is getting past me, right? I'm a gatekeeper in the way that I can smell some demo magic. I'm not suggesting that any time in my career I may have had teams that did any demo magic, but I'm pretty good at sniffing out, right, what could be a really good offering. And then I'll bring in a small group of partners that would have a significant stake and say, this looks good. It passes kind of the smell test. You're the real lawyer. You tell me, if this works as warranted, does this bring you and your client value? If the answer to that is yes, then I just negotiate the deal that makes sense for that particular practice group. And what I'm focused on right now is building essentially an internal marketplace. So I'm only a gatekeeper to ensure that the technology meets our requirements and does out for value. But I want my partners to freely be able to select the technology that they want to use. So think about it like an Amazon shopping experience. You can put the technology that you want into a cart, check check out, that whatever that price is then gets billed back to you through our distribution. And then you have to leverage that technology throughout the remainder of that contract that we have. They're not being forced to do it. They want to use it. And because we don't have the associates, I have been so pleasantly surprised with how many of my partners show up to learn more about tech, right? And we're partners. So these men and women have been practicing for 30 years. Like we're not talking about associates who are just coming out of college who know how to use prompts or have grown up with prompts, right? These are people who have been practicing their whole career without them and have been successful at it. And now they're still willing to take a look. So we have a hackathon that we're going to support at our retreat. I have probably 75% of my partners have signed up for one-on-one sessions with some of the technology sponsors at our retreat because they're very hungry to learn how to use it.
The thing that Daniel and I have woken up maybe abruptly to is this idea that, so when we use AI tools, for example, he and I will get up in the mornings, we're both early risers, and we'll start texting each other. Did you see this? Did you see this? So we are in this constant innovative moment with AI. New things are coming out all the time. And it's really interesting to hear that some of these old school folks are on the cutting edge of learning about tech and using it. Like that's just, so how did you make people get into that? I mean, that's really interesting.
I focus very much on grassroots, right? Every person has their concerns. Every person has their uncertainty around it. So I just have the conversation with them and just say, let's take a look at it. Right. And by the way, it might not offer your practice any value. I don't know, but let's take a look at it together. And a lot of these emerging tech companies, their user experience, their user interface is so easy. Yeah. It's not hard for them to really pick up on how easy it is to use. And they realize that I think 20 something years ago, you could break something. Right? Like if you press the wrong button or you could erase the entire system. You put your fingerprint on the floppy disk, like that disk is gone. Here, you can't really break like the production instances of what we're putting in front of people. So you click the wrong thing, probably not a big deal. Yeah. Having them understand that, giving them the peace of mind, and then showing them the value that they can bring is huge, right? If you could do a 50-state jurisdictional research project in an hour versus, it totally changes the game.
One last question for you, Christina. It's been wonderful having you here. What is somebody like yourself doing at what Connie and Jeff have built here with Running Legal Like a Business? They've created this conference. This is not your first one that you have been to. So what attracts you to coming here? Because when I think about the Running Legal Like a Business, I think about a lot of the corporations and the legal operations professionals that want to do this. But then I think about what you have done at your law firm, and you literally run Legal Like a Business at your law firm. So what's the impetus for being here? Why do you love coming to this?
I just love the atmosphere of this conference, first of all. It's a little bit smaller. People are much more connected. The other thing I really like about this year in particular is that I've signed up to be a coach mentor because I've held pretty much every position you can hold within the legal universe. And there's a lot of people who don't understand or don't know what their path is going to be. So I've had multiple sessions while I've been here to just tell people, like, if you're interested in going from a service startup to a tech startup, here's my journey doing that. If you're interested in going to a high growth organization through an exit, here are the considerations you need to have. You want to move from a tech startup to an in-house position, here's my journey to get there. Here are all those things, and here's how you can add value, and here's how you market yourself as adding value, and here's what you need to think about from a networking perspective. So for me, I like to give back. At least this year is giving back, right? Giving back to the people who've helped me get to where I've gotten, and hopefully I can help them get to wherever they want to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much for having me. This has been great. Hopefully there will be a part 2.
Thanks for joining us on BDO's Legal Tech Talk podcast.
If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe for more episodes.
On BDO.com, you'll find all of our episodes, transcripts, and ways to continue the conversation.
Until next time, this has been another episode of BDO's Legal Tech Talk.